Good Thursday morning, and welcome to Ice Age TV, the internal combustion engine age YouTube channel that talks about the cars and trucks and SUVs and the dogs, motorcycles, grass cutting. Morning there. Welcome to my video, my morning conversation. If anybody's new, thanks to those that tune in and watch me, and hope everybody's having a nice morning. Wow, up here, Maryland area. We've got overcast and rain today, and a little bit of humidity. Not too bad. Come on, Will. These dogs were just out. Come on, Will. I mean, I'm not lying. These dogs were just outside. Willow! Willow! Let's go! And, wow, this guy didn't even come back in the house. Hey, wow, cutting grass. The grass, it's incredible. How, sometimes you have these summers where you get a little bit of a break from just a drier time of season. It just ain't happening. This area up here, if you're a landscaper or a guy that cuts grass, I would think you've had just incredible years. Come on, pups, let's go. Come on. The bunny rabbit's underneath the Bronco. It was earlier. I saw him let out the dogs earlier. If you're a landscaper or a guy that cuts grass and maintains yards, I would think your business is booming, because it just hasn't stopped. I mean, and for me, choose your turn mowers now, thank God. Got my kid. Come on, Will, let's go. Get in the barn. Come on, let's go. Come on, Will. Will, looky here. Will, looky here. Come on. I got two zero turn mowers. And just between the kid and I, that was like an hour and 15-minute cutting grass, not even including going to the field. Got to get my gate opener or my barn opener in my pocket, out of my pocket. Yeah, so I mean, just is it reality? Do I need to just accept it's reality that the grass just doesn't stop growing? But it does. It does stop growing if the rain stops. But up here, it just isn't happening. So we're having a pretty wet summer. I thought we'd actually have a dry summer this year. Come on, pups. Because back in spring, it was kind of pretty dry. I was really thinking about it. We have a little shortage here of water. But hey, the Jeep Mojave, tell you what, the Jeep Mojave, that is such a great vehicle. That thing gets down the road. I'm even amazed. It's just a great vehicle. I'm so glad I bought that. Worked out of it yesterday. Kid and I busted our butt doing another job. Hot as hell. Oh my gosh. Here's how much reality. So that's what I'm thinking to myself this morning. Look at I need to uncover the bikes so you can see the bikes. Right now that I've got them covered up, you can't see the Road Glide CVO 2023 that apparently one guy has already had a problem. One of my subscribers sent me a link. A gentleman that has this brand new Road Glide, he claims he's doing a U-turn on the motorcycle, that the now Hurl has decided to follow Indian and Honda and other manufacturers on putting a safety switch. When you put the kickstand down, the bike won't start, so you know that your kickstand's up. But it's kind of such a stupid design if you kind of think about it, because all right, let's get up. So the gentleman claims that he was riding his motorcycle and it stalled on him and he fell over. All right, pups, come on, get up here. Let's get the morning going. A little warm up here, so I guess I better get the AC on here. Got my usual crew. Here's my crew. There. I get the award this month and last month and this year of being the best worst employee. Yeah, if you own your own company, you understand what that means. That you are your best worst employee. Yes, that's what I got. I should make a little plaque, an award thing, and hey, here's an idea for maybe out there, and if you take it and run with it, you make any money, can you please just send me some contributions on the little plaque that says, for the small business owner, you're your best worst employee. So yeah, the reality. I thought to myself, have I had a reality conversation? Yeah, I think I'm just like you. All right, here's the yeah. Let's get that there. It's Thursday morning. Another week's passing. Wow, the reality of life. It's incredible. The clock doesn't stop. Whether you're here or not, the clock doesn't stop. The reality to the physical world we live in, you can't stop. No matter how much money you have, Elon Musk can try to get to Mars and all the billions of dollars he has. Can he reverse time? Nope. Can he reverse his aging process? He's probably working on it. Sure, he's already recreated himself to live forever. So, but is that realistic? Is that reality? But going back to the roguelike CVO, so already, but here's the thing. If you're anybody like me, and if I'm anybody like you, however you want to phrase it, if you think it through, so the gentleman claims he was doing a U-turn in his neighborhood near his brother's house. And when he did a U-turn, the motorcycle turned off. In a state, the little alarm, kickstand alarm, came up on the screen on the bike, and he dropped the bike. So now the thought is that the brand new 2023 CVO Harley product already has a glitch in it with that brand new technology that they decided to put that little sensor in that kickstand. So now, is that factual? I have no idea. I've heard one incident. Okay, so now, I said yesterday, just being funny, I just keep the CVO Road Glide parked for the next 6 months and don't ever ride it while I just witness all the people that are the guinea pigs in these bikes. And I can just sit there and go, well, I know I'll just have that. I'll just take it back to the dealership and they'll do a software update on that or replace the switch. And then, they got this problem. Well, I'll just send the bike back to the dealership and have them fix that. Yeah, just don't ride the bike. Let it just sit there and collect dust. Just sit under the cover and collect dust on the top. And I'll just listen to all the what happens to all these other people, right? And don't ride it. So, and a lot of people are reaching out to me like, hey, do a ride. And I'm like, yeah, I want to do a ride. Today, I actually was thinking of maybe riding it, but nah, the rain's coming in. No, I was thinking about actually working off the bike today, but I don't know I don't know if I'm gonna do that or not. But it's supposed to rain. But the whole point is people are wanting me to do a review on it. And you know what? I've looked into the helmet headsets, and you talk, and I just don't do it that way when I do my videoing. I'm much more brazen and crazy on how I do my videos, and then I just watch other people's videos where these people are talking through their headset as they ride down the road. Yes, I'm going down the road, and this motorcycle feels so smooth. And as I go to first gear, second gear, very good transmission. And the balance of the motorcycle feels very stable. And the acceleration, oh, wow. The acceleration, this thing feels incredibly acceleration. Oh, the brakes, I'm putting the brakes on. The brakes feel really, I don't know. And then you're like on the motorcycle with them, and it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of, I don't watch a lot of those videos, believe it or not. I just don't. I don't know. For me, I'd rather go borderline ride the bike and just come back and walk around the bike and talk about the positives and the negatives, or whatever. Or once again, you buy the Bluetooth headset and you Bluetooth it to your GoPro or whatever. There's lots of options. But anyways, that'll maybe be another day that I do that, but not anytime near future, just because it's just too much going on. Just too many projects, just too much responsibilities and blah, blah, blah. But anyways, going back to reality. So I thought to myself this morning, wow, does anybody just really sometimes step back and say, are we living in the most unrealistic times in our life more than ever? Sincerely, are we living in the most unrealistic times? We're not living in reality. I just think to myself, there's so many things going on. I'm sure so many others, and you just think, how is it possible that this incredibly expensive environment we're in, where people continue to go out and buy all this expensive stuff? And it seems like people are probably, borrowing more money than ever, probably to try to stay ahead of the curve. But are they staying ahead of the curve? But to give you an example, I looked at the article on the brand new Cadillac Escalade IQ. Yeah, so Cadillac's on this IQ branding. I guess you have to have a certain IQ to buy a Cadillac Escalade. And so it's the new electric Cadillac Escalade, which to me it's following the Hummer components in so many ways as far as the battery. 200 kilowatt battery. Now, yesterday I was talking about the talking conversations, UAW. Now the Teamsters Union is calling. Well, Yellow Freight's calling out the Teamsters Union for the reality. There you go. The reality, I guess, finally set in for the Yellow Freight of the so many years of going back and forth and fighting with the Teamsters Union on trying to make sense to run a business. And obviously, I mean, there's so many variables in that, and I don't know the variables. I haven't done that great depth of research on it. But here's the reality: is they're going bankrupt because they can't afford their operations anymore. They've overextended themselves, and between buying up other shipping companies, and I guess were they paying too much for their drivers? But at the same time, you think to yourself, UPS just gave a huge pay raise. In fact, UPS is now one of the hottest trucking, delivery service companies in the market. People are searching to get a job because the UPS union got a huge. I got to turn off this fan behind me. It's a pretty strong fan. So UPS, they got a huge, union compensation package, and you just scratch your head. It's like, on the one end, it's two different trucking style companies, long haul, short haul, whatever. It's just, you just shake your head. It's like, so the one union just got this incredible pay package, but the Teamsters union just lost their jobs working for Yellow Freight because I guess they were being paid too much. I don't know. I mean, that's easy to say that on the outside. And then the Teamsters union watched my video and be like, no, it isn't that. It was these other variables of what I kind of talked about, just leveraging themselves too far, and then the shipping industry slowed down, and that industry that they're in, that's kind of got them in the crunch. So the reality set in for Yellow Freight that their decision and management obviously, made. But at the same time, there's many people calling out the Teamsters Union to tell them the reality is they're the root of the problem. Okay, so I don't know. So back to the Cadillac Escalade. This here it's gonna be 130. It's gonna be $150,000 car. It's $130,000 starting price. Electric vehicle, 200 kilowatt battery. Now something's really interesting here with all this battery technology. And I've talked about the CATL, the CATL, the Contemporary Amperage Technology Limited Company that's out of China that makes like 80% of the batteries. It stole the design and technology back in 2012 from the bankrupt company, 1360 or whatever the name of the company was. That the original Texas university figured out how to make lithium-ion batteries carbonized to make them easier to recharge and get more life out of them. And then that heyday for them never panned out after the Obama administration gave them hundreds of millions of dollars. And then this little Chinese company bought them in the bankruptcy court back like in 2012. And even the U.S. congressmen and senators kind of questioned it. But they, for the most part, said, what's the big deal? But here's the big deal. They're now in our own backyard with Ford that just received a $9 billion handout from the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, and the new AKA the new Green Deal. I talk about it all the time. Every day on my channel it's about. So here's the reality. The reality is our own technology has come back to our own country, and our government gave this initial technology $200-300 million that the company couldn't service. But now here we are 10, 11 years later, and the government just gave this company $9 billion. Not the same company, just a different company that's now figuring out how to get the world market to buy their batteries because it's a different market than it was 10 years ago. So, and the reason I bring this up is that now Joe Biden is saying he's going to start cutting off investments to China. I just think, but you just gave a $9 billion investment through your IRA deal to fund the cattle company out of China that's buddied up with Ford to build these electric batteries in their own backyard. And here's another thing that I forget to mention. recently, I think I mentioned a while back, this this new Inflation Reduction Act Green Deal package also rewards the battery manufacturers $45 a kilowatt, meaning that the government gives back a credit to the company making these batteries, a $45 credit to try to drive down the price of these batteries. So if you take that Cadillac, 200 times $45, that's $9,000. So the manufacturer of that battery is saving $9,000 if they're part of the IRA, plan, if they qualify to build a battery in this country and all the conditions. So there's just a whole nother, there's so many things in this Inflation Reduction Act that these big companies are getting this windfall of credits and monies that for so many of us here think it's just not reality to the big, electric vehicle revolution happening sooner than later. And anybody knows in business, if it takes 5-10 years to start churning profits, that's very challenging, very, very challenging. And so I think some of us here are like, it just isn't realistic. It just isn't reality. Just like this brand new Cadillac Escalade IQ, it's for the niche market of people in the world, in the country, I should say, that are going to spend, it's going to be a $150,000 Cadillac. By the time you go to a dealership and you add a few options, you pay tax on it, you're going to be at $140,000, $150,000. I mean, if you live in Florida, it's like 7% sales tax. I think it drops down after a threshold. But a $140,000 Cadillac Escalade down in Florida is going to be, what is that going to be? That's going to be like $3,000 or something. 140,000 times 0.07. No, $9,800. Yes, you're at $150,000 for your Cadillac Escalade. That's an electric vehicle that has a 450-mile range in perfect conditions. It has a 225-mile range if you're towing up to 8,000 pounds. Yeah, don't believe that malarkey. If you're trailering a real trailer that's a fully enclosed, trailer, like a camper or something, I guarantee you'll be lucky to see 150, 180 miles. Be lucky. So it just isn't realistic for that type of vehicle to be. I have a video on it. You can go back a year ago and look at my June video of me towing just a 3,500-pound motorcycle trailer. That was beyond believable of what that truck sucked the energy out of, that Ford Lightning truck. So I'm sure so many here watching my channel are on the same page. I'm on the same page you're on. It just doesn't seem like we're living in reality on all of these new governing body policies and agendas. I mean, do you just shake your head? I mean, look at the car prices. Look at the car prices. I mean, it's just like, wow. And you hear the never-ending conversations of, oh, it's over for the car dealerships. I don't know. I mean, I just haven't heard the stories of these car dealerships laying off their sales forces and laying off management. And I don't know. I mean, I wish somebody that's watched my channel that was a car person or a manager of a car dealership could just really say, we're not really on fire, but we're not dead in the water. We're just basically kind of the typical automotive business model we've been for last 20, 30 years, where you just kind of have your up months and your down months. And overall, we're still selling cars. And yeah, they're extremely expensive and people are paying the price for them. I think that's what you would hear from the average person. And sure, I'm sure some people, yeah, but it's not like the pandemic. I'd be like, right. Was that reality? Did we live in an unrealistic time at that time, being all the money being handed out that's still floating around? I mean, oh my gosh, it's just befuddling. I mean, I'm sure anybody here that really is working and has not really seen that big a pay increase in your income the last few years, 2-3 years, I'm sure you just scratch your head and like, how do these people afford all this stuff? I mean, how do they afford all this more expensive cars and food and entertainment and traveling? And I mean, and the list goes on and on. And then here's reality, more and more than ever, where you're reading articles and you're hearing that this remote working just doesn't work. The production, I mean, I've read in-depth articles now here just recently, just last week, about how the real, you know, remote working people, they're not at the same level of, being productive as in office workers. So they're really starting to see that more than ever, that the remote working, the reality to it is it just doesn't work. And that's what yesterday was talking about in the UAW negotiations, that the new negotiations, they're trying to negotiate a 32-hour work week. Wow. I mean, so to me that sounds like, okay, that message is 32 hours is your work week, and once you go over 32, you get then your overtime pay. Ooh, is that really what the underlying message is, that they're trying to create even a bigger compensation because then they can get these people that want to work instead of 4 days or 3 days? I mean, that they're now going to have even more opportunity to make more money. But for the manufacturers, the manufacturers say this UAW's deal will cost them $80 billion more over the 4-year agreement. I have no idea on that, but is that realistic? So what goes on with that? Going back to the remote working, I can see it here in my daily driving now. The reality is the traffic is back. The traffic is horrendous. This main road I live out here is terrible. It's ridiculous. So yes, and people are coming back from vacation. We're getting ready to go back to school. The whole back to work vacation time is ending, and I can see just in this area where I live where the traffic is getting worse. So the reality, it's back from the pandemic era, and it's going back to pre-pandemic. And the reality is, I've talked about it many times, I'm sure you've read about it, that the infrastructure of so many businesses have suffered greatly because of these remote workers and the tax revenues. I mean, they're saying right now that the amount of apartment buildings, they're going to be coming into possible foreclosure. Yeah, apartment buildings. Yeah, they're saying there's trillions of dollars of landlords that have borrowed money that is going to start coming due, and they just can't pay the bills. Isn't that something? Even though anybody here watching my channel will be like, yeah, but the rent to rent space anymore has gone through the roof. Here's what's interesting. I was down there in Tennessee, and I rented 2 storage spots for my cars down there, a motorcycle. I was talking to one of the managers there at the facility over the phone, and she was telling me that I really had good timing on getting these units. She said just this year, you're actually now able to kind of get storage. She said during the pandemic, it was crazy. You had a 2-3 year, she's like, you were potentially 2 years or more waiting to find storage. Wow. So what's that all about? I mean, think that through. What was that all about? So during the pandemic, people moved all their stuff out into storage. So I mean, that's kind of I guess because you couldn't get your house right away. You're under construction. The home, slowed down being built. I mean, I guess there's just lots of things that you sold your house. All of a sudden, you couldn't rent a house. I don't know. And you're living out of a hotel room. I don't know. I'd be curious to find out what drove that angle of that reality. But now, it's all business models kind of going back to what it used to be. So here's the thing with the UAW. It's like you just say to yourself, what's the reality of all this increase, just like UPS I talked about the other day? What's the reality of the continued rise of costs? The continued rise where things get more expensive. All the shipping get more expensive. I mean, it's incredible what they're charging now for freight on cars, motorcycles. I mean, I know in my business, when I order equipment, what I pay now, I mean, to me, it's at least 30%, 40% more. The equipment that I buy, it's at least 30%, 40% more than it was just pre-pandemic. I mean, so you just think, what is realistic here? When does the reality start to set in? And that's my whole point about this Inflation Reduction Act. When is the reality of all this money being handed out and the industrialization governing policies of handing out money to create the future? When does the reality start to set in that this whole business model that they have isn't playing out the way they thought it would? And here's interesting statistic in California. 25% of their new cars or cars sold here this past year have been electric vehicles. So California now is like the ahead of the curve of everybody as far as the electric vehicle agenda, the Californians. So they're saying out there that even like the Tesla models, like the number one selling car out there, and so they're definitely. But people make comments in these articles, and they're like, well, that's got the more stable environment, for the hot and the cold. It's kind of more of a medium. They've got the bigger infrastructure of electric, and the list goes on and on and on. Drier environment, a lot of variables there for electric vehicle, and it's just a whole electric vehicle movement. And I talk about this all the time. Is if you live out in California, I can about guarantee you that if you live in a certain neighborhood that has all the Tesla owners, the EV owners, and you show up in your Hellcat, you're going to maybe be looked at like you're a nuisance to the neighborhood because your car is the ice age and it's the noisy one of the neighborhood. And so the reality, you'll be like, yeah, wow, this sucks, right? So reality. So I think to myself, when does the reality start to play out? I mean, I think somebody here could just use in the most recent times from 2020 to 2022, 2023, we saw the social movement of defund the police. And I'm sure so many people were all mumbling under their breath that, yeah, let's see how this plays out. Let's see how the reality of this plays out of these inner cities that are going to be lawless cities because the police officers are being targeted and called out for being bad people, that they're going to just turn their back and walk away. So how's that going to play out? I think most people would say, yeah, we're seeing the reality of how that is. And then you look at what's going on with, it's so confusing on the fact that you look at the transgender challenge and you look at the sports of where a man wants to become a woman and then compete in women's sports. And you just think that's just not realistic. And there's an argument about that among us where, one side will argue all day long it's okay for a man to look like a woman in so many aspects and then compete in a woman's sport. And you just think that just isn't realistic. I haven't seen many women, have there been many women that converted to men that have actually competed in men's sports that have outdone the men? I don't know. I'm just asking. I'm not here to be critical of what somebody, is trying to be in their life. And I'm just wondering, you hear more about the man wanting to compete in the lifting, the swimming, whatever, going into, the transitioning to a woman and then wants to be, that athlete. And then Bruce Jenner, he's Caitlyn Jenner. Sure, a lot of you scratch your head on that. I mean, that was definitely my area watching Bruce Jenner. That was an incredibly talented guy, which, did you ever told me when I was a kid that eventually his name be Caitlyn? I mean, I've been like, what? I mean, yeah, reality, right? What's the reality to that? Yeah, how do you unsee that, right? So I think more than ever in today's age of where we are, we have artificial intelligence, we have the chat GPT, the generative pre-trained transformer, and more than ever now, people are trying to create themselves. And people are now looking to the computer to get answers and dialogue and create things. Look at the production studios and the all these Hollywood talented screenwriters and actors. They're all getting kicked to the curb because the movie makers see how artificial intelligence is going to replace them. Yes, like the cartoons. Remember I was talking about that here the other week? So what's the reality to those people's lifestyle? And that's the thing that's so concerning that I talked about with the UAW is that, and it's so contradictory because one of the UAW representatives is on that podcast I was talking about yesterday, fighting for their jobs and their future and their better compensation and better working conditions. But in the same words, he's recognizing that the automotive manufacturers have but no choice to go to electric vehicles because the green agenda is real and the climate change is real because these ICE cars. And so in so many words, he's basically saying, yeah, I see on how when we transition to building electric cars, I mean, I would guess a third, maybe half of the workforce is probably gone for the union. I mean, so hello. So does reality set in with that? Yeah, I think you're going to witness the reality. All these union members, having a challenge of keeping jobs when the transition goes to a more efficient building a vehicle with less components and challenges to bring to the market. But here's the reality: does the market really transition as quickly as everybody thinks? And that's the challenge. And I'm sure that's what in some ways creates the anger among us, is that we've got a governing body that's so heck bent on these agendas and knowing what's going to play out in the future. But these are the same political figures that we've witnessed that have passed other governing agendas and total, in our eyes, not very good transition into being better, but being worse. I mean, we just look at the defund the police. Has that created a safer, better country? The district attorneys and politicians and legislature and local towns and counties raising the what's a criminal charge and what's not, for people to be able to steal things up to $999, and anything below that, there really isn't any criminal conviction. Have we witnessed how that's played out? But this is the same type of personality individuals that are in power today more than ever, trying to transition us into this new green agenda. But you look at their other views and ideas and ideology, and it's a failure of what they're doing today's society. So how can you think that they're good and they're really lousy at that, but they're really good at this? I mean, it would be no different than you being on a football team, basketball team, baseball team, and you have a coach that just has these really weird training programs on how you're going to become a good team, and just the whole package of a coach. And on so many aspects, he fails in so many other areas of trying to bring a team to work with one another to win. And you come to closure, this guy's just a Fruit Loop. He's not going to be able to help us. He's clueless. You ever seen this in watching sports, where you see this coach, you just know, and you're like, how did this guy even get this position? The call he just made, the decision he just made, and then eventually that guy goes bye-bye. So anyways, hey, it's reality. I mean, I just think more than ever, we're not living in reality. With this artificial intelligence now upon us, it's going to even get more crazy, because people are going to start, talking about people hiding behind the screen of who they are, it's even get more crazy of people creating another one of them, but maybe not such a nice one of them. But they're going to use their same name, but they're going to create something of somebody who they are not, who maybe they want to be, and then they're going to use their artificial intelligence to communicate and to interact with somebody that thinks they're actually talking to a human. I mean, it's already going on through the bots and stuff like that. I get that, but this artificial intelligence stuff, it's crazy stuff. It's deeper than I can even comprehend in so many ways. I'm just thinking that how you can create yourself and do this and do that, and then like me, I've created myself. This is even me on this YouTube channel this morning. Now I figured out how to create my own studio and production, and an image of me and how I talk and what I'm going to talk about. And then I just go to artificial intelligence to figure out what to say. I mean, that's what I think goes on more than ever. Like on the X, the former Twitter, I so believe there are some big posters on there that use artificial intelligence to create conversations and topics. All right, that's it. I'm letting it go because it's getting to be a long video. So anyways, reality. Does anybody think that we're living in the age of reality? I don't think we are. I think sadly, more than ever, we're being governed by unrealistic individuals of what the reality really is. And it can get much deeper than what I've talked about. In the education, critical race theory, the divisions of the 1619 readings, of the reparations. I mean, you can start going through the list of where we are in today's society more than ever, of what just isn't realistic, that we're trying to argue among ourselves and even fight one another from previous history that none of us here participated in. And in so many ways, we've all wanted to move on and try to become bigger and better. But yet we have these individuals that just aren't realistic, trying to bring back the history. Wow. And not for the better. That's the sad part. All right, everybody. Hey, hope everybody has a great day. And stay tuned for more conversations and adventures. What am I doing next? Who the heck knows? Busy day. Gotta get off. Hope everybody has a great day. God bless. Stay safe and stay tuned.